Today's message is simple. Go easy on yourself. This process is such a ride. It's just full on. And adding self-judgment to it, unnecessary self-judgment, is just unfortunate. We have the tendency to do it already. We have the tendency to second guess ourselves, to think back on or just notice a memory of a misstep or maybe a day we didn't practice in the way we wanted to, or reflecting on a period of time when we were not particularly mindful or just totally lost in thought. And we judge ourselves for that. We feel a sort of cringe, or we feel a feeling of disappointment, a feeling of frustration. But just know that all of that is totally normal. There's no one that goes through this in a smooth way. There just isn't. Even, I think, people who maybe are more on that end of the spectrum where they didn't seem to have significant amounts of turmoil, throughout most of the process. Even then, there's definitely times where the lows are pretty low. The feeling of contraction is rather intense. The confusion is profound at times. And this is true of everyone. Also, what's true of everyone that I find is when you're in that soup, when you're in those moments of feeling particularly contracted or particularly disoriented, it doesn't feel like you've made any progress, you have any insight. It sort of just feels like I'm not making any headway at all. All of this just seems like it's been for nothing, because like, here I am again. It has that feeling of here I am again, right? But that's pretty laden with self-judgment. The truth of it is, how you're feeling in the moment is how you're feeling, and it's okay. And the more we are able to see those judgments, set them aside or relax the judgments, feel into what's actually happening, observe the beliefs about the moment, the more we do that, the more these contractions soften. The more the feeling of disassociation will settle. The more the tendency to distract will soften. It can take some time, but the best you can really do is just notice what's occurring. Don't add judgment. Feel into what's happening. Feel the emotion if there's a significant emotion tone there, or ask yourself what you might be feeling or what emotion might be here. And that's it, really. This process we talk about, this unbinding process, is actually deeply intelligent, I find. It's got a sort of wisdom that's really beyond our understanding, beyond our own dimension. But it's not always obvious in the moment. In fact, often it's not. Usually it's really in retrospect that we see how things played out very nicely for us, very actually compassionately, that maybe when we wanted things to move faster, we wouldn't have been able to handle it. Or maybe when we were disoriented and had a rug pull in life, we needed that because there was something we just couldn't see without it. And when you're going through that, it's never fun, of course. But in retrospect, often you go, well, I had to see that because it was affecting me. I was avoiding it. It was causing a formation of a sort of false view. And I didn't see it. I could sense it, but I didn't know where to look, right? Well, sometimes life shows us where to look, just does a rug pull. So often in retrospect, we see there's actually a lot of sort of wisdom behind all of this. And there is. I really do see that. But again, when you're really disoriented, you're just down in the, deep shadow, feeling intense emotion, not even knowing what you're feeling disassociated, confused, don't know where to orient or how to orient, then you can't really reassure yourself with that just by saying, well, this will work out, because it doesn't feel like anything's working out. And that's okay. That's what I want to say. It's okay when it doesn't feel like it's working out, or it's going the way you hoped it would, or whatever. It's just how this goes. It's fine. It's totally fine. Also, whether you like it or not, in those moments, what you're learning is what surrender really is. Or perhaps I could say you're learning what helplessness really is. Helplessness is finally just letting go of the reins, letting go of the illusion of control, because the illusion of control is pretty pervasive early on in this process. We don't realize how much this illusion of control is tied into this illusion of separate self, and how much sort of effort we put behind it without realizing it. It's innocent, but we still put a lot of effort behind that for a while. So these moments of disorientation, of the wheels coming off, of contraction, those are just really moments where that's being stripped from us. The illusion of control, the illusion of separation. Sometimes it's through inquiry, and then all of a sudden the sense of subject and object drops, or the sense of separation drops, and it feels really cool, and it's very obvious. And sometimes it happens that way, and other times it happens this other way. And this other way is it's just being stripped from you because it has to. The illusions are being just dissolved. And when you're identified with the illusion, identified as the illusion, of course, it's not going to feel good to you. But it is, there's a wisdom behind it, and it's okay. So yeah, what I really want to say is just don't add unnecessary judgment there. You didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes we have judgment around how hard we practice, if that's your approach, is like a lot of meditation and inquiry and staying vigilant and focused. And that can be powerful, and it can be an approach, a kind of one-pointed approach, or sort of really like intense warrior approach or something for a while. That won't last, throughout a lot of this process, because it will erode, but it can sort of force, really what it does, it forces the hand of the ego, but we think we're forcing the hand of reality, and kind of snaps back, and that can result in a kind of deep release. So I'm not saying that's not a valuable way to approach this sometimes, and for some people it is. But what I am saying is, even then, even if that's your approach, you have that kind of warrior spirit, and you work hard and you push hard and you sit long hours, and even then, you're not a machine. These human bodies are not machines. There are going to be times when you're just too tired for that. It's just too much. You're not, even if you can sit, even if you can force yourself into the practices, you can't force your mind to be focused in the way you think you need it to be. You can't focus yourself. You can't constantly focus your attention in a very precise way. It's just, nothing's constant. It's gonna break at some point. It's gonna fall apart. It's gonna settle. It's gonna relax. It's gonna reorient itself, all without your choice. And you're gonna notice this happening. So just don't add judgment when that happens. It's normal. It's normal. These body minds need rest. They can't function like machines constantly. And even machines, if they function constantly at high speeds and with high precision, sooner or later they'll break down without the proper maintenance and so forth. So just go easy on yourself. So much of this is out of your hands anyway. You can make an effort to inquire. You can make an effort to practice. You can sit and meditate and inquire and do your best to be mindful and do the work and do the shadow work. You can do all that, and that's great. And still, there's so much of this that's just not on the timing that you would want. It's operating behind the scenes, and it has to be, because otherwise it will get co-opted. So there's a very large dimension of this that's just not in your hands, So sometimes if you really let that settle in and digest that, kind of lets you ease off on yourself a little bit. You can still practice. You can still focus on what you need to focus on, but there's just not that unnecessary added struggle of self-judgment, if that makes sense. So also you can take an emotional investigation approach to this if there is a lot of self-judgment. Why? Where's that coming from? Maybe the self-judgment is the entry point. Don't ignore it. Look there. Why do I judge so harshly myself? What do I believe that gets me? What do I believe that helps me avoid? Those two questions are really valuable here, and they'll probably lead you back to earlier formation of identities and so forth. So even that self-judgment can be really helpful if it shows up, to investigate if you feel inclined. But don't just keep piling it on when you see that you're not really in charge of this in the way you wish you were anyway. So, yeah, go easy on yourself.